Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be walking you through some more advanced functions in Excel that we didn't quite cover in class this semester. I found some of these functions very useful this semester for my own survey research that I conducted as part of my capstone, and I hope you may also find that these functions are helpful for your own purposes. But first, I want to walk you through a function you already know, the if function. If functions are primarily used to output a data type based on a condition. And if our condition is dependent on multiple factors, then we can use a nested if functions within a parent if function. One way we can see this in action with a real-world example is in calculating how much a salesperson makes on a commission. Let's say that if our salesperson sells less than $10,000 worth of a product, then they receive a 5% commission. And if they sell between $10,000 and $20,000, their commission percentage is increased to 7.5%. And just for fun, let's say that if the sales amount exceeds $20,000, then they make a 10% commission on their sales. What we have here is a great scenario for a nested if function, where the commission percentage is contingent based on how much product our salesperson sells. You can tell that the nested if function is working here because the employee that sold $25,000 made much more in commission than the employee that sold $20,000 worth of product. Next, I want to introduce the count function that you may find useful when working in spreadsheets. The count function is useful for counting the amount of data entries you have within a dataset. This can be useful when you conduct survey research, for example, because sometimes you receive blank entries, and we don't want these entries to be considered in our final calculations. Here, you can see that I've done some survey research myself, but there are holes in my dataset because I forgot to make one of my questions a required question. Obviously, I don't want to spend a lot of time counting each space one by one in this large dataset, so I'm going to be using the count function to do this job for me. In order to see how many data entries I'm missing from this set, I first use the count function to count how many survey forms I received by counting the data entered in the timestamp column. Then I run the same function for the question that I ask for their age. And with these two count functions stored in two different cells, I'm able to run a quick subtraction problem to see how many responses I'm missing. Now, moving on to an Excel function that I use all the time when I do survey research, the COUNTIF function. As the name suggests, the COUNTIF function combines the logic of both the count and the if functions. It works by providing a count of cells that contain a specific condition that you are looking for. So if we use the same data set as in the last example, let's say instead of counting how many responses we received under the age question, we instead want to know how many of our respondents are 22 years old specifically. We do this by first writing the name of the function, and inside the parentheses, we state the range we are analyzing. You can do this either by selecting the range with your mouse or typing it in manually. Then, after a comma, you state the true condition you want Excel to count for in quotation marks. Now make sure the condition you type matches up exactly with the way the responses are written, otherwise it won't work. As you can see here, I've used this function to not only calculate how many 22-year-olds we have in this dataset, but also how many people identify as female and whether or not they've ever been employed. So, just to recap, functions are great ways to automize a dataset, and the if function tests a condition upon a given range. Also, we learned that the count function displays the amount of data that we collect, and when we combine these two into the COUNTIF function, this tells us how many specific types of data we collected. Alright, that's all for now everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something new today.